Should we play this one more clip? Just because the picture of Judge Janine. You've seen Howard Lutnick, is that his name? Yep. Howard Lutnick say his 97-year-old mother-in-law who lives in his mansion probably literally has 24/7 care. Unrelated to Howard, like I'm saying someone he hired, would not complain if her Social Security check was a month late.
Or if she did, he would think she was a criminal.
Yes. You've heard Harris Faulkner, is that her name, say, we're at war. We're at war. A trade war that we started.
The entire world.
The entire world. And therefore, people are going to understand that if their 401ks crash, and they can't retire, within a year or two or 3 or 4 or 5 from when they thought they could, or they're going to retire with, 10% less than they thought they would, people will understand. It's called patriotism. Well, here's Judge Neen with a very similar take. It's amazing how these incredibly wealthy people are not so upset about their ability to retire.
Enough. And this is what Donald Trump ran on, and he's delivering. And you know what? I don't really care about my 401k today. You know what? Not that I can afford it. Not that it isn't important. Not that I'm not at a point in my life when I should be worried about my 401k, because I am. But this is what I believe. I believe in this man. And I believe that what we're seeing now with his bringing in $1 trillion in business and manufacturing and companies moving back to the United States, and seeing what we saw during COVID when we couldn't, we had all those supply chain problems. We couldn't get medicine in this country. Other countries were prioritizing themselves before they were sending stuff.
I should just say that, fortunately for us, pharmaceuticals are exempt from these tariffs because about 40% of our pharmaceuticals are manufactured overseas, China, India, and 80% of them have ingredients from those countries. So this is not to build out any industry whatsoever that she is talking about in terms of supply lines. Now, to be fair, Biden did do that with the CHIPS Act. It was those chips. It was those that slowed up like stuff for cars, and we saw it with computers. But this is not an industrial policy, as we talked about with David Dayen. If it was, you would see a whole host of other supports from the government, not willy-nilly same tariffs on bananas as you would get on dishwashers. We're not going to grow bananas in the U.S. There's not going to be suddenly a huge rise in the banana industry in New England, for instance. Go ahead.
Countries were prioritizing themselves before they were sending stuff to us. It's about time we recognize we've got to have manufacturing in this country, and we need to bring them to the table. And Donald Trump is the only one who could do it because he's got the biggest consumer base in the world. He's not afraid of anybody. He's to the wall in terms of, you know what I mean.
Say that again?
Yeah, you know what I mean. And at the end, it's going to help the working class. And who's complaining? My last point. Right. Who's complaining? Wall Street. Too bad. He's helping the middle class. And finally, I think it's going to be over this summer.
All right, Dana, we have...
Okay, wait a second. Now, wait. Again, tariffs are a regressive tax. That means they hurt the working class more than anybody else. It's just that Wall Street is sensitive to it because they know that we have a consumer-based economy, and if you're going to create that type of inflation, it's going to hurt the stock market. Kowalski from Nebraska says, technically, Sam, we can grow bananas and coffee in Hawaii. It might be time for us to reach back to our colonies like the Philippines and start turning them into crop plantations. Fair. Fair. The mill rind. AI will fix the robots. Detective Dubois. Sam got value-tained so hard. Tim Pool's emotional support beanie. As soon as Sam starts to make them look dumb, they resort to yelling over each other at you. It would be comical if it wasn't so sad. When they say they weren't supposed to be here, what they mean is, I don't want them here. Exactly.
It's like chimpanzees like reacting to a new chimp being introduced into the cage, and they just start jabbering.
Spikus, the great and powerful Dr. Oz. John Miller, the turning down of the volume of the shouting red face was hilarious, especially after he says, I'm not yelling. It was pretty cool, the setup they had. They had like little panels where you could actually control each mic in terms of the way that you were getting the mix in there. I don't know how that happened. But the problem was I didn't know, and they didn't know which number he was. And so I kept like turning myself down in my own ears. And so you'll see by the end of like at one point, I'm wearing the headphones here. Because he was too loud. I mean, aside from him yelling, just his mic, for whatever reason, was cranked up on mine. And he was sitting next to me, like 6 inches away from me.
His face was so red.
But the funny part is that like I sit down, and he's, I think, like considerably shorter than me. And I sit down, and I'm like this, and he goes, do you want me to lower your chair? And I'm like, no, I'm fine. So I don't know if they ever put us in 2 or 3 shot or something. Daniel from Virginia, it's called a mixer. No, it's not. It was a distro. It was like a mixer, but a distribution box as well, because they were sitting on everybody's.
To have each of the mics independently adjustable boggles my mind with complexity.
That means that they must have a mix minus that goes to the 5 of them. The 5 seats, or that somehow there's a mix minus in these boxes that are right here. There's a lot of money invested in that studio. That's crazy. And, you know, they may do 1 million views a day, maybe more, which is more than we do, but not that much more. And we don't fly in guests. We're going to have Matt Duss in studio next week. He's the only person we allow in studio for whatever reason. Dummy leg. There are 4 dudes in Florida with broken ankles and busted backs from all of the pivoting and goalpost pushing they did yesterday. Well done, Sam. It's not easy trying to explain progressive policies for reactionary rockheads like that. They really, I think I'm a communist. And then they were very fixated on who do you like in the presidential election. And I'm like, I really...
That's when I tuned in, and they were like, just say somebody.
I mean, I said, you know, I think like I can tell you who I think is going to be running, but I need to see what their policies are. Come on. What's that about? It's just about like how I decide who to vote for president. Like what, like, I kept waiting for what the gotcha was. I'm like, I don't have a name.
Yeah. I think they wanted to say like AOC, so they could just do their bash AOC package or something like that. But you said McGovern, and they had nothing.
Yes. Who's your favorite politician? Well, I mean, you know, Jim McGovern, from president. He would actually be pretty good.
Can we Google Jim McGovern?
Oh, he doesn't look pretty sexy.
Google Jim McGovern woke Adam quick.
I wonder if that's the first and the last time anybody's ever going to say the name Jim McGovern on Patrick Bake-Davis' show. I have not heard from Congressman McGovern for the thanks for the shout out on the PDB show. Dixie Savage.
Watches on the weekend.
Hey, Sam, any opinion on Sean Fain and Yanis Varoufakis supporting these tariffs? I was surprised to hear that. I'm not terribly surprised. I mean, certainly from a car standpoint, this is going to be helpful to the car companies. And Trump has threatened the car companies, and Ford came out with like, they're going to do even a discount. And Fain's primary agenda is going to be to strengthen the UAW. And Varoufakis, I think, broadly speaking, I mean, look, I am in favor of tariffs as part of a bigger industrial plan. We need much more of this from our government. But doing tariffs without the supports mechanisms doesn't do anything. And doing tariffs in this way, where it's just we're going to do it per country, not based upon an industry, again, like there's probably a list of 100 or 200 or 500 or 1,000 products that make as little sense to produce or to try and build an industry in this country, a la bananas, despite the fact that we could level Hawaii and just grow bananas there. And also to do it without any ramp up to say like, under the CHIPS Act, there's this company, TSMC. They're from Taiwan. They came in to build semiconductor chips. They don't have the workers in Arizona to fill all these positions. They had to bring in like 1,000 workers. And the idea is over time they're going to train, but they can't do that because they just don't have the workers yet who know how to work in these factories because these are, high-tech factories. So the idea that you can just do this overnight without any planning, without any government support. If Donald Trump came out and said, like, we're just doing the, tariffs on vehicles, or let's say like solar panels, and we're also simultaneously passing legislation to retrain coal miners to assemble solar panels. And the job's going to be just as well paying, and we're going to send them to school, and we're going to, provide these support, and we're giving, an enterprise zone, I'm just, we're going to give you subsidies to build it in West Virginia or into Pennsylvania, whatever it is. That would make some sense. Broadly speaking, from an ideological perspective, I am all in favor of tearing down the fake free trade regime that we have, because it's fake. It's not a free trade regime. We don't allow labor to go across borders. We allow capital to. We allow empowerment from corporations over the sovereignty of various countries. I am also not in favor. So what Sean Fain says is really not that surprising to me.
I'd also say, like, it's kind of, this whole thing with tariffs is kind of avoidance of the real issue with our competitiveness. BYD, the car company that you're going to hear more and more about because they're outcompeting us, it was given $2.1 billion in subsidies from the Chinese state 2 years ago.
Of course.
We have to be investing in things that matter for the next century.
And here's the problem, is that the story these guys like to tell is that government has no role in this.
Exactly.
And when they see industries outpace us because they've been supported by government, because the fact of the matter is, and this is going to come as a shock to a lot of these people, the pursuit of profit is not, sometimes it can be in the best interest of society, but not always. I don't know what the percentage breakdown is. I would say it's much less than I think we give it credit for. If you ever talk to somebody who's like, who does like VC work in the medical field, they have all these stories of these amazing medical devices or drugs, but they're just not profitable, so they don't invest in them. Number 13, do you think there's no possibility the military gets too concerned about Trump's behavior? Don't they swear to the Constitution? I mean, we'll see. I don't know. I'm not in favor of a military coup. I should just go on record saying that.
Yeah.
I'm against the military coup. But I think this reality show that we're going through is...
I'd be more worried about corporations.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.